Hello, good morning to everybody, and welcome to this new learning session organized by Star Cities project. So it's our last thematic learning session, and this week we will talk about environment and sustainability in river tourism. And as the previous learning sessions, we will have webinars and workshops with all the partners. And this learning session was specially organized by our partners from Ljubljana. And so I will give the floor to Natasha to introduce this webinar.
Thank you, Camille. Good morning to everyone and warmly welcome on two-day-long webinar on environment and sustainability. On behalf of Regional Development Agency and of the Ljubljana Urban Region and the Star Cities Partnership, I would like to wish you all a very successful and fruitful event. I wish that our event would be held in Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, that was declared the first green country in the world back in 2016 by the international organization, the Green Destinations. I'm sure that we are all aware that sustainable development represents the only way to preserve the beauty of our planet for us and for future generations to come. I'm very happy that almost 120 participants registered for our event, and you are coming from, or we are coming from 13 different countries, through Europe. So let me introduce our Star Cities team that will take care about smooth course of today's and tomorrow's webinar. So we already met Camille Chauvin from Val-de-Marne Tourism on behalf of the lead partner. Then Misha Novak, our external expert, will join us as well with poll questions. My colleague Katya Butina will be your technical host, and my name is Natasha Mashol, and I'll be leading you through today's program. Let's go to first to some technical tips, please. Katya, perhaps?
It's not working.
Oh?
Sorry.
Okay. Well, these technical tips that we would like to, as you know, we are recording this webinar, and we will keep your microphone and camera turned off during the whole webinar, but you can of course raise your questions in the chat box, and they will be answered later on in the Q&A session. If you go to the agenda, today's topic is focused on sustainability and sustainable mobility, and as we would like to get an introductory insight into how the river and river tourism is managed in a sustainable way, and how sustainability is incorporated into a wider strategic regional or tourism governance model, either in the region or in the country. There will be two parts or two sub-themes, so to say: sustainable tourism development in strategic planning, and the second part, sustainable mobility and river tourism products. So in the first part, the four good practice presentations, good practices, will give you the insight in understanding the bigger picture, how the region, the city, or the river and groups of stakeholders within it are functioning in a coherent, sustainable way through a clear sustainability framework. Then we will have a Q&A session, and after the coffee break, we will have two more presentations from sustainable mobility and river tourism products. Misha, to launch the first poll to get an insight or a feel of the topic.
Hello to everybody. We're just launching a short poll to get a feel of the topic of sustainability in strategic planning. So just choose one statement that really best describes your view on sustainable tourism development in strategic planning. And sharing results. So 80% of the people, around 40, voted. And the results are that you see sustainability in strategic planning is not enough. We need a good national or regional operating model that enables and promotes sustainable actions. 63% of you believe this is the way forward to accelerate sustainability in strategic planning. A quarter of you believe sustainable actions start with clear sustainable strategic framework, and only 11% that sustainability in strategic development models is often too vague and not concrete. Of course, this is also the case, but we will see the whole session, the following 4 good practices will support number 3. So we are going to learn about good national regional operating models that promote sustainability. So Natasha, the floor is yours again.
Yes, thank you, Misha. Now I'd like to invite you back to Ljubljana, to the European Green Capital 2016. And we all know that the quality of the environment, both natural and man-made, is essential to tourism. In Slovenia, the sustainable approach is our priority in different developmental fields. And how is the integral approach to sustainable development incorporated in Ljubljana? This will be shared and presented by Natasha Jazbinšek-Sašin from the city of Ljubljana. Please, the floor is yours, or actually better say the microphone is yours.
Thank you. And of course, good morning to everyone. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present Ljubljana as European Green Capital 2016. We are still very proud on this prestigious title because it is a great honor and the highest recognition of our efforts to improve the quality of life in the city. At that time, when we got this prestigious title, the jury highlighted that we have made the greatest improvements in the quality of life in the shortest time period. And during the last 10-15 years, we have implemented more than 2,000 different projects, all in harmony with nature and, of course, in cooperation with different stakeholders. Next. So just a few words about this award. The European Green Capital Award is European Commission initiative aimed at recognizing and rewarding local efforts to improve the environment, the economy, the quality of life in general. And the city's applicants are assessed based on 12 indicators of sustainable development. Everything is important when we compare cities to each other, such as climate changes, energy performance, waste management, nature protection, local transport, etc. Next. So our team designed Sustainable Future many years before receiving this title. It was in 2007 when we created and started to live our vision Ljubljana 2025. At that time, we decided that Ljubljana will develop respecting its history and our nature, that will become a modern, sustainable city with values such as safety, tolerance, cleanliness, quality of life, and that we will be an environmentally friendly city. Next, please. So today, of course, I don't have enough time to present all our efforts, all achievements. So I will focus just on few of them, those ones that brought this title to our city. The first one is the green identity of the city. Please, next one. So on this picture, you can see that Ljubljana has really impressive green identity. Almost 75% of city's area is covered by green areas. I don't know if you can imagine through this picture, but the city has a star shape with green corridors. And these green corridors are very important to bring fresh air into the city center. Next one. So we have 560 square meters green areas per inhabitant and 542 public green areas. We protected these areas, and we have 2,000 areas. We have also a lot of areas with protected nature. We also have 4 landscape park. 42% of cities areas is covered by native forest, and 1,200 hectares of this forest is covered, we protect it as a special purpose forest. Of course, it means that we would like to protect these green areas because they are essential to achieve the highest quality of life in the city. I mentioned 4 landscape parks. For us, it is very important, the landscape park Tivoli, Rožnik and Šišenski hrib. Next one. This landscape park is very important because it is situated almost in the city center. It has 460 hectares of surface, and it encompasses the Tivoli city park and forest areas at Rožnik and Šišenski hill. It is the most visited landscape park in Slovenia with approximately 2 million visitors per year. And we protected this area as a landscape park because we wanted to conserve a rich biodiversity, numerous natural values and landscape diversity. For example, 1,500 different animal and plant species have been recorded in this area. Next one. When I talk about green areas in Ljubljana, I have to mention the largest continuous green space around the city, so-called Green Belt or the Path of Remembrance and Comradeship. This is the longest tree avenue around the city with more than 7,000 trees along 34 kilometers. It is a very popular place for our citizens, for recreation, for relaxation, for running, walking, cycling. But it is also a memorial at the suffering of Ljubljana's citizens at the Second World War. In 1942, the Italian occupational forces erected a barbed wire fence around the city. And every year, to celebrate the liberation, more than 40,000 people join the march around this path. Next. During the last decades, we have done a lot in the fields of renovation of degraded areas. You can see on this slide one example. This is not the biggest one, but very important for us because with this project, we connected the city with the biggest landscape park, Ljubljana Marsh. Ljubljana Marsh is known as a home for many animal and plant species, especially bird species. And because there is Natura 2000 area, we had to arrange this area on a very sustainable way. Next one. We have also implemented a lot of other measures related to improving green areas in the city, like this one. So we called this project Urban Forest. So in the area reserved for the future construction, We planted a lot of trees in these containers, and this small project is very important in terms of reducing the impact of heat island in the city. We also protect this area from illegal parking of vehicles. And when the construction will start, we will simply remove these containers with trees to other locations. Next one. Of course, in related to green areas, it is also important the areas for vegetable gardening. Vegetable gardening is becoming more and more popular in Ljubljana. And we, in the last 10 years, we created 10 big areas for vegetable gardening with more than 1,000 allotments. And our citizens can rent an allotment on municipal land, but we also encourage private landowners to connect them with the potential gardeners. Next one. So the next very important achievement in Ljubljana is so-called ecological zone in the city center, and also all other measures related to sustainable mobility. Next, please. You can see on this slide the situation before 14 years ago and now. So in 2007, we created ecological zone. We named it Green Oasis in the city center. We did not just close the city center for all motorized vehicles, motorized traffic. We completely renovated the city center, this area, the banks of Ljubljana River. We constructed or renovated 12 bridges across the Ljubljana River, and such created a new quality public space for our citizens and visitors. With all these measures, we enlarged the pedestrian zone for more than 600%, and of course, improved the quality of life significantly. Next one is another example in the city center, the Kongresni Square. We remove cars into the underground garage and created a new public space for a variety of cultural and sports events. In all this area, we not just improved the quality of life in general, but we improved the quality of air and reduced noise pollution significantly. Next one. In 2012, we were awarded European Prize for Urban Public Space for all these measures. We are very proud because Ljubljana was selected among 347 different projects from 36 countries as a good example of linking these green areas and urban rehabilitation. Next one. I would say that the most visible measure was the introduction of a new traffic regime in the part of Slovenska Street, the main traffic artery through Ljubljana. So in this part of Slovenska Street, you can see the situation 10 years ago with a lot of traffic, even heavy traffic such as trucks and buses. And the situation now, so on this part of Slovenska Street, we created so-called shared space. Next one, please. You can see how it works. So this part of Slovenska Street is used only by public transport, cyclists and pedestrians, and all have the same priority. So it is very important, the eye contact among them to decide who has a priority at a certain moment. We also planted a lot of trees along of this part of street and directly connected the strict city center with the nearest landscape park, Tivoli, Rožnik and Šišenski Hill, and improve the quality of air significantly. For example, the concentrations of black carbon decreased by 70% above the background which is a really good result. Next one. Related to sustainable mobility, I have to mention cycling. Ljubljana is becoming a city of cycling. Cycling is becoming more and more popular. And we offer more than 300 kilometers of cycling routes all around the city. All started in 2011 when we introduced a bike sharing system named Bicycle. Since 2011, almost 8 million rides were made, which is a really good result. Now we have 720 bicycles and 72 bike stations all around the city. And to reduce the car traffic in the city center, we are also implementing new park and ride system on the outskirts of the city. Nowadays we have 6 big areas for park and ride system. Next one. Of course, we are constantly improving our public transport fleet. Each year the public transport fleet is further updated with new CNG buses, so methane buses. Methane buses now represent more than 40% of all public bus fleet. Next one. One of the most important achievement or fact about Ljubljana is sophisticated waste management system. So Ljubljana is European capital with the largest share of separately collected waste, which is today almost 70%. This significant improvement is a result of upgrading infrastructure, and I would say the intensive communication and cooperation with our citizens. Since 2008, the ordinary containers for different types of waste have been replacing by underground collection points. You can see this system on these pictures. Nowadays we have these underground containers at 72 locations all around the city, and they replacing 9,000 ordinary containers for different types of waste. Next one. We are also very proud on our regional waste management center. It uses the most advanced, modern and sustainable technology in Europe. And at that time, it was opened a few years ago. At that time, it was the biggest cohesion and environmental project in Slovenia, and it will solve the waste problem for 1/3 of Slovenia. This center, I would say that the key mission of this center is to extract the many useful materials as possible from mixed municipal waste. And after processing, less than 5% of residual waste ends up on the landfill. Next one. The last one is natural drinking water. Please go. Ljubljana can boast potable tap water that is not treated with any technological process, so we can drink completely natural, healthy and high quality water. Ljubljana is very rich with water. There is a quality underground water source beneath the city's surface. Next one. And we are currently completed so-called the Clean for You project. So within this project, we are expanding the public sewage network. At the end of this project, more than 98% of all households will be connected to the public sewage network. This will happen this year, to the end of this year. We will complete it. And this is a really big achievement for Ljubljana. Next one. So about plans for the future, I would say that the last 10, 15 years were very intensive for us, very dynamic, hardworking, and full of challenges. Next one. Now we will continue this way. Now we are in the middle of preparing new vision for Ljubljana, Ljubljana 2045. Now we are focusing on the new challenges such as circular economy, climate changes, self-sufficiency of the city. And as I said, all these aspects we will put down on our new vision, Ljubljana 2045. So we would like to be resilient city, green city, self-sufficient city, smart city, a city of knowledge and cooperation, tolerant, respectable, and circular city. And that's all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natasha. There are some questions for you, but we will answer them and first of all read them and answer them then in the Q&A session later on, if you all agree. We would like to move further to our next speaker. So Teja Korošec from Institute Factory of Sustainable Tourism Goodplace will present us the green scheme of Slovenian tourism. This is a tool at the national level and a certification program that brings together all efforts directed towards the sustainable development of tourism in Slovenia. So, Teja, the microphone is all yours. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't unmute it myself, so I had to wait for somebody in charge. Hi, good morning to everybody. I'm Teja from Goodplace, and today I will present the good practice of the green scheme of Slovenian tourism, which is known under the brand Slovenia Green. I wanted to start with a short 3-minute video just to give you some inspiration about the project. We'll check if it works because we had some issues with the sound before. There are some subtitles, but not all of them, so I hope the sound works. Let's see. Otherwise, we'll just watch a minute and then move forward.
And became active guardians of our natural heritage.
Okay, perfect.
Listen, traveler, it's too late to go back now. The forests have filled your lungs. Rivers run in your heart. You have set the course for the land so green and abound with unspoilt nature that you will never be the same. You have come to Slovenia to live hand in hand with these natural riches is a deep-rooted gratitude locals feel every day. The respect for nature shows in the way we think, live, and do. Slovenia Green is a unique story and a great lesson in sustainability for the rest of the world. It began with a pledge to preserve the pristine nature for us and for you. We set out on a long, steep path and became active guardians of our natural heritage. Local communities and tourist providers have all come together to build a unique model of sustainability in tourism. Over a decade, we put together a visionary policy that nurtures everyone by the table. Today, we are one of the world's greenest destinations. We encourage you to visit us by train, bike, or on foot. On your way, you will come to understand why we included the right to clean drinking water in our Constitution. We believe in responsible observation of the mysterious wildlife. The inhabitants of our ancient forests can teach us all how important it is to protect our planet. When your step becomes heavy, it is time to rest. We think green accommodation should be as close to stars, birds, and trees as possible. We believe in the green inspiration from one generation to another, from one traveler to another. It comes with a view that overwhelms. To know how to listen to a tree is for us a way of traveling too. You can never cross the same stream, walk the same forest path twice. Our commitment and enthusiasm for sustainable tourism have been contagious. Today we stand united, together with you, dear traveler, under the vision of Green Slovenia.
Okay, great. I think that worked well, at least here. We can continue with the presentation now, and I hope to see all of you here in Green Slovenia on the summer holidays. Okay, so to get some background first, Katja, can you move back to the slide from before?
I'm trying.
Okay, no hurry. So what happened in Slovenia about 7 years ago? You saw in the video that there are many green facts supporting and confirming that Slovenia is a green country. Also, before we heard how, like, the facts about Ljubljana, and now about Slovenia, that about 60% of the land is covered in forests. We have 36% of the land protected by Natura 2000. We have really good drinking water, rich biodiversity, and so on. And for a long time, we are also already promoting Slovenia as a green destination to our visitors. But back then, there was a crucial step missing. We also needed to start acting green, and this is why the green scheme was introduced. Next slide, please. So the Green Scheme of Slovenian Tourism is a national program or a tool for the development of sustainable tourism on both the destination and the tourism business level. It works as a certification program, so destinations and tourism service providers that fulfill sufficient sustainability criteria can obtain then the Slovenia Green certificate. Next slide, please. So how is the scheme organized? The Slovenian Tourist Board is the owner and the manager of the scheme. We at Goodplace are the accredited partners that also help to manage and develop the scheme. And then there's also the international partner. This is the Dutch Foundation Green Destinations. Because for the scheme to be internationally recognized, we are using an internationally recognized standard. And this is the Green Destination Standard for destinations. The standard is also recognized by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and this was our goal from the beginning. Okay, next slide. You can see from this slide that the pilot phase of the project was carried out back in 2015, and then every year more and more destinations and businesses were joining. The year 2017 was very special for us because that's when the scheme received the World Legacy Award by National Geographic in the category of Destination Leadership on ITB in Berlin. I was lucky enough to be there when it happened, and the scheme also received other international recognition in the last years. Okay, next slide. We come to the current statistics. We already have 137 members. There might be even a few more, but I made the presentation about 10 days ago, and the numbers are growing very fast. So the restaurants and beaches were just added as to the scheme this year, so the numbers are still low, but they will for sure grow in the future. And next slide, we can see how the map of the Slovenian Green members looked at the beginning. And next slide, how it looks 5 years later. Well, this is not even the last map but almost. Okay, so how does it work? There are different categories of members. We have destinations, of course. They can get one of the 4 colors here on the slide. So they can either be Slovenia Green Bronze destination, Silver, Gold, or Platinum. And then there's the category of businesses. There are no different colors for businesses, but different labels according to the type of business. So we have Slovenia Green Accommodation, Attraction, Travel Agency, and the newly added Slovenia Green Cuisine label that includes certification of restaurants and other food and beverage providers. The last category are the protected areas, including Slovenia Green Parks and Slovenian Green Beaches. Okay, so how does the process look for destinations? This is a bit more in detail. So when a destination, this is usually one municipality or a group of municipalities, when they decide to join, they want to join the scheme, they need to take these 11 steps here on the slide. And the first phase, the one colored, the steps colored in gray, they take about a year. So a destination first appoints a green coordinator. This is the kind of a project lead, and then also a green team. This is a group of local stakeholders that will help the green coordinator in this project. And then the destination raises public awareness about joining the scheme. The mayor signs a green pledge. Also, the destination or the green coordinator conducts surveys among its visitors, residents, and tourism businesses because their input is very important. And then the next step is crucial, where the green coordinator or the green team together, they use the green destination standard to report on 100 different sustainability criteria on a web platform. These 100 criteria are organized into 6 different chapters, so they really cover all aspects of sustainability. We have destination management, nature and scenery, environment and climate, culture and tradition. We have social well-being of the host community, and in the end also business and hospitality. So then an auditor, like me, evaluates the fulfillment of these 100 criteria. And if a destination is successful and gets a certificate, then in the next step, it creates an action plan of how to even further improve their result in the next 3 years. It also designs a green DNA for marketing purposes and reports about its progress every year. After 3 years, it's time for a re-audit, because we know sustainability is not a goal or destination that we can arrive to, but a constant process. So every 3 years, a destination is re-audited. And after the initial audit, the next time, there's also a field visit included. So auditors go to a destination and check how the things work in practice. The progress of destination is measured by, of course, the points a destination gets at the valuation, and also the color of the certificate, our recommendations. Next slide, please. For businesses, the process is a bit different. The scheme encourages companies to get one of the environmental or sustainable certificates recognized by the scheme. These are the ones that are recognized here on the slide as a primary label. So once they get this primary label, they can also ask for the Slovenia Green certificate. So with businesses, we have a bit less work. They have to get the primary labels and get evaluated by themselves. Next slide. With protected areas, it's very similar, just that the primary labels here are different. So we have, for example, blue flag for beaches. And parks can either be evaluated with a primary label or as destinations with 100 criteria. They can decide which option to pick. Next slide. So, and you can open one more. Yes, thank you. How are the Slovenia Green members promoted? Well, the Slovenian Tourist Board really actively includes them in promotion through all of their channels on social media, through their main website, many articles. And in Slovenia, some agencies also design tours that are only connected, they are only connect certified destinations and include only certified businesses. So also on many study tours, the Slovenian Green members, both businesses and destinations, are prioritized. And then to conclude, I can also list some of the challenges we have encountered over the years. Sometimes, for example, it's very difficult to communicate everything I just explained fastly to the end user. So how to communicate the meaning and the structure of the scheme with the visitor of Slovenia. We try to be very clear and make the message simple, but it's not always easy because you saw that it's quite complex and it involves many different certificates and brands. The next challenge we encountered is that we have lots and lots of data on the Slovenia Green platform where the destinations report about fulfilling the criteria. And we use them for evaluation, but we believe there's much more we can do with this data, and we want to make better use of it. We are still figuring out how to do that, but at least we want to offer more benchmarking tools to our members in the future. Also, with the growing number of members, it became a challenge to control the scheme. We need more and more people. It's difficult to control the validity of the primary labels when it comes to businesses. So I think we will soon need one person to be only in charge of the scheme or a part of the scheme, because so far this is only one of our activities. And another challenge is to constantly update the scheme. The standard is reviewed every 3 years because it's GSTC recognized. But we know that trends are changing even faster than every 3 years, so we have to adapt our criteria, our system, our steps faster than that. A good example now is the COVID. Of course, we know how much that changed the reality in tourism, and we couldn't wait for the review of the standard. We had to act fast. Also, at the end, what is very crucial for us and what is a challenge is that we make destinations and businesses understand the true meaning behind sustainable development, sustainable tourism, because it still happens that sometimes they would join the scheme thinking very short term, and just in their mind is to get a certificate fast and maybe earn some money with getting more attracting more conscious travelers. But from our experience, if their heart is not in it, then sooner or later the results will show this. So we really try to communicate this with them. Okay, and then the last slide is the way forward. In the next few years, we want to add new categories to the Slovenian Green family, like we did this year with the Slovenia Green Cuisine and Slovenia Green Beaches. We are already working on the Slovenia Green Events label, and we are thinking maybe in the future about also certifying specific tourism products or experiences. And of course, we also want to get our first Slovenia Green Platinum destination. So far, we don't have one because this is a very difficult level to reach. You really have to be almost perfect. And we didn't even have this level before, but because we already have many gold destinations, we decided that we want to give them, the next step so they don't become lazy. So we'll see. I hope some of them get there soon. There are a few of destinations that are getting close, I think. Also we want to share, of course, our story of success with other destinations and countries, just like I'm doing right now. And we have been working a lot with Estonia and Bosnia during the last year, because they are also in the process of implementing their own sustainable tourism schemes. And there were several other destinations that were also interested. So on the last slide, you have my contact, and feel very welcome to get in touch. You can also get some inspiration about sustainable holidays in Slovenia on our new Facebook page. It's not on the slide, but you can find it fast with Slovenia Green name. And thank you very much for listening. I'm sure we have interesting questions for later.
Thank you, Teja. Now we are moving from Ljubljana and from Slovenia to Hamburg to Hamburg tourism sustainable strategy and marketing. So I would kindly ask Mrs. Cynthia Wester from the Hamburg Tourism Board to present their approach to sustainable development on a strategic and operational level.
Good morning from Hamburg. My name is Cynthia Wester and I'm working for the local DMO here for the Hamburg Tourism Board. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about our sustainability strategy that we have here in Hamburg. Next slide, please, Katja. Our guiding principle in sustainability is this one here, and I'll just read it out loud to you. Together with our local stakeholders, we want to create a more sustainable and quality-minded tourism, which includes the perspective of Hamburg citizens. So what you can see here is that our approach is a bit different from other cities or regions, I guess, because we want to shift from the pure marketing to more management. So we want to do together, obviously, with all the other stakeholders. And we also want to shift from the quantity to quality. So we stress that, we focus on that very much. And we see sustainability as a means for a higher quality in tourism altogether. And what we definitely want to do, and what's very important for us, is that we want to include Hamburg citizens as very, very important stakeholders and target groups besides the overnight visitors and the day visitors. Before I start now with my presentation, I'd like to give you a short insight into Hamburg, so you know what kind of city it is we're dealing with here. It's the second largest city in Germany, actually, after Berlin. We have 1.85 million inhabitants living here. And we are well known internationally for our large harbor. It's actually the third largest harbor in Europe. And since 2016, I don't know if you're interested in culture, but if you are, you might know the Elbe Philharmonic Concert Hall, the Elbphilharmonie. And we're also a very, very green city because 16% of our area is covered by parks or just green areas in general. You can see one of our largest parks on this slide here. And before COVID, you can imagine we had an ever-growing number of visitors coming to Hamburg. Obviously that changed like in all destinations. Next slide, please, Katja. And now I think everyone who's working in sustainability knows these two topics, but I'll just repeat them to show you what we did in order to reach our goals. We focus on these two principles of sustainability, which is one is the holistic approach, which covers all the 4 dimensions of sustainability: the ecological, the social dimension, very important too, with accessibility and stuff like that, the economic dimension, and of course the management dimension. And what we also do is we see sustainability as a process. As I think Teja already said, that it's not a thing where you have one goal and you just reach it, but it's an ever-changing topic, and it's nothing you can reach within just 1 or 2 years. So we also reassess our goals from time to time, as they may have shifted, obviously. Next slide, please. And now a little bit to the history of our sustainability, how it all started. In 2017, we started the first draft. The strategy was presented. Before that, we hadn't focused on that topic so far. And then the political decision makers here in Hamburg, they asked for an official document for the beginning of 2019. And as we have a green Senate, we do have a Senate here. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have a Senate here in Hamburg. And it's one of the main parties, it's the Green Party. So of course they naturally focus on this topic. So our DMO is working on this topic rather in a coordinating role. On the one hand, we have the political expectations brought to us. And of course, the other side are the important players in tourism in Hamburg. And of course, not forgetting the tourists and the Hamburg citizens. I didn't write that down here. The Hamburg citizens as a third party. And we see our we see the strategy not so much as a strategy, but rather a guideline or a framework for sustainable tourism. It's not a fixed strategy with a time frame and everything, but we rather see it as a process, as I said. Next slide, please. So how do you design a sustainable destination? We were looking at sustainability along the whole customer journey, from the beginning to the end, like from when you're looking for the destination until you choose your hotel and until you choose the way of getting there, and then coming back home, and maybe we have a how do you call it, another email to ask people how they experience their green how they like the green experience in Hamburg. That's what I wanted to say. And we're also always bearing in mind, of course, Hamburg's very specific and unique potential, so we cannot really copy good examples from other destinations, but we see them as best practices. So we consider, of course, international developments and the new scientific knowledge. So we do lots of monitoring as well, and of course the best practices from other countries or other cities. And we're always taking on the customer's point of view when we're looking at sustainability, because it is a different approach. Next one, please. And we identified, in our work, we identified 6 stakeholders. Those are on the right, the graphic is in German, so on the left-hand side is the English translation. First of all, it's us, the Destination Management Organization. Then, of course, local initiatives and the Hamburg citizens, as we really see them as very important in this process. The visitors, obviously the stakeholders in tourism, and of course, on the other hand, the authorities or the political decision makers. And we think it can only work when these 6 different stakeholders work together and they're also looking in the same direction, which obviously is not always easy. And then we defined 4 fields of action in the field of in the topic of sustainability. It's the first one is organizing sustainability. We do coordination and networking between the sustainable players or stakeholders here in Hamburg. So we try to get round tables together on that topic and such things. Then enhancing sustainability. We offer qualifications and financial support in such sense as we offer workshops or guidelines, or like we do not give money directly to the stakeholders, but we support them. And then, of course, the main field of the DMO, communicating sustainability, but I'll come to that later on. And then, in the end, securing sustainability by monitoring the things we do and making sure we offer a high quality in sustainability. So I'll give you a few examples on, thank you, that's good, on communicating sustainability. We launched our Hamburg card Green. It's basically, it's an extension to our normal city card that we're having. Maybe the cities who are present here might have the same. With the regions, it might be a bit different. We have that Hamburg card Green includes over 30 sustainable partners that were carefully selected by certain criteria, from the topics of shopping, sightseeing, restaurants, to mobility, and we try to get a good mix of everything into this. And it's one of our biggest projects actually in the field of sustainability, and we got quite far during the last couple of years in this. And it's also the first sustainable city card in Germany, from what we know. Of course, we did research there, and yeah, and what we wanted to do, when you buy this card, there's €1 donation for a little local sustainable initiative, which we found just makes sense in this topic to support the local sustainable initiatives. And we were looking at different initiatives, but we decided for a special one that really seemed very, very good for this project. And we started in February 2020, and guess what happened in March 2020? I don't have to tell you. So we couldn't really, like, we can't monitor the progress because everything here is just closed. And yeah, the card is only available online. Like, we used to have a paper card. The regular Hamburg card was also a paper card, but this is just a card that you buy online, either as an add to our regular Hamburg card or just by itself. And the price starts from 10.50, but if you want to buy it as an add-on, you pay less. And then you get discounts on all these. Like, you don't get anything for free, but you get discounts on all the things that are participating, all the offers that are participating. Next slide, please. And the second big project in the field of sustainability was our campaign. In German, it's, yeah, it doesn't make sense in English. It's nachhaltig begeistert. And the two H's, nachhaltig, HH stands for Hamburg, Hansestadt Hamburg. So if you translate it, it would be something like sustainability inspires. And in the middle with that, Hamburg, maybe comparable to the Slovenia with the loft. So it made sense for us. And this campaign was like, we had these huge posters everywhere in Germany. We distributed them in certain areas where our where lots of people who are visiting Hamburg come from. And of course, we did a communication concept before we launched this campaign. We defined a certain language that we use when we talk about sustainability. No threatening or no instructions, but rather positive vibes, and always green, focus on green elements, as you can see in the picture. And yeah, then our website, it's www.nachhaltigbegeistert.de, or the English one, you can find it on the last slide. hamburgtravel.com/sustainability is the heart of our campaign, and all communication means lead to this website. So these were two big examples. And we also have smaller projects, such as we produce little pencils with flower seeds or lanyards made from cork. So when we're visiting trade fairs and tourism trade fairs, we hand them out to people interested. Yeah, so this was just a very short insight into our approach to sustainability, to show you how we work. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or just write it in the questions and answer here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Very inspiring. And now we are moving to Lower Saxony, to UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, Elbe River Landscape. And I invite Mr. Tobias Kannenburg to present us this successful and innovative practice for the sustainable tourism inside the protected area.
Okay, thanks, Natasha. Thank you very much. And I'm Tobias from the administration of the Elbe River Biosphere Reserve, and I would like to concentrate on a certain project within the Biosphere Reserve. It's called a Network of Partners for Sustainable Economy in the Biosphere Reserve. Next slide, please. Yeah, a short slide about the location. As you see a part of northern Germany, and the green area is the metropolitan area of Hamburg, with the city of Hamburg as a red dot in the middle of it. And the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve is marked in orange color here. It is in the western part of the metropolitan area. It has a size of about 2,850 square kilometers, a length of 400 kilometers, and it stretches over 5 different states of Germany, over the Bundesländer. And so it's quite an administrative chaos. I wouldn't say that, but it's not so easy to coordinate things within the whole UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. As you probably know, Germany in nature conservation is quite decentralized. Yeah, you see some pictures of the Biosphere Reserve. The Elbe River, of course, is the connecting factor within the reserve. We are large parts are part of the Natura 2000 network. So we have quite rare animals here, like white storks, white-tailed eagles, European crane, Elbe beaver, certain amphibians, and of course very species-rich grasslands in the Elbe floodplains. The next slide, please. The Elbe, the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve is part, of course, of the so-called German national natural landscapes, which consist of 60 national parks, which, as you know, concentrate on the protection of natural development, wilderness. We have 18 biosphere reserves in Germany, 16 of which are accepted by UNESCO, and there is the aim to bring man and biosphere together, so to be model regions for sustainable development. And you find cultural landscapes here. And furthermore, there are 103 nature parks in Germany, which more or less concentrate on recreational factors. The umbrella organization of these natural landscapes, which is the German section of the Europark Federation, has started a network of partners, or a partner program, in 2008. Next slide, please. And this partner program started with a couple of national parks in 2008. And it has quite developed since then, and nowadays has 30 national landscapes which take part. And so right now we have 30 partner networks for sustainable development in these national landscapes, with right now more than 1,400 individual partners. And one of the main ideas is that these partners are ambassadors for their national parks, biosphere reserves, or nature parks. Nonetheless, there is a certification routine, and throughout Germany, there are nationwide minimum criteria which the partners have to fulfill. And I listed some of them here. It is the partners have to identify themselves with the aims of their national landscapes. They have a sustainable business model. They cooperate with other partners and, of course, with the administration of their individual natural landscape. And they should support environmentally friendly mobility. And on the next slide, you can see how we in the Biosphere Reserve Elbe River broke down these nationwide criteria. Right now, we have 183 partners in 11 sectors, and 4 of these sectors are especially relevant for touristic purposes, like gastronomy, cafes, restaurants, accommodation. We have certificated nature and landscape guides, which can also become partners of the national landscape or the Biosphere Reserve. And the tourist infos, or even the DMOs in our region, can become partners as well. And furthermore, we have other branches or sectors which are not so closely related to tourism, but for a biosphere reserve, which should be a model region for sustainable development, are very important too, like educational institutions, shops, handcrafts, agricultural farmers and fishery, for example, or even service offerings, who feel quite connected to the Biosphere Reserve. All of these partners, after certification, can use this logo in the lower right half of this slide. On the next slide, you can see some of the basic certification criteria. Of course, the partners have to declare their commitment to the aims of the Biosphere Reserve. They should try to work together with local or regional partners in order to create regional values. They should use sustainable or regional products. They should, of course, work in an environmentally friendly way. They, as you all know, they should save drinking water, energy, avoid water pollution, waste. or even produce renewable energy. They should behave socially responsible by, for example, improving the accessibility for handicapped persons, for example, and they should guarantee a certain standard of service quality, and they should inform, of course, their guests and customers about the aims of the Biosphere Reserve. On the next slide, these are the basic criteria, and on the next slide, you see some short additional certification criteria for specific sectors. For example, in gastronomy, the employers should avoid disposable dishes or marking the regional origin of the food. In accommodation sector, it is wished that they provide organic meals or offering nature rooms, as we call it, that consist of ecological building materials, use organic cotton, for example, or have the standard of energy saving lamps, for example. Okay, on the next slide, you can see some examples of our certificated partners. For example, we have a company called Nature Guides, which offer stand-up paddling tours for disabled persons, for example, on the Elbe River or on lakes. We have a company which has built huts from quite nature-friendly materials, and they use that for a glamping approach in the area. We have a bio hotel, which only uses, of course, organic food, and which has equipped their rooms with information material, educational material about certain topics of the Biosphere Reserve. For example, you see a picture of their wolf room here, where you can get some basic information on wolves or other animals in the Biosphere Reserve. Last example I would like to mention is this Völkel juice factory, which is rather a big company within our nature Biosphere Reserve. They produce organic juices, and they especially work together with local farmers which grow carrots, because they are quite famous for their carrot juice. Nonetheless, they are working on a more or less global basis. The next slide, please. Of course, this partner network should be of mutual benefit for both the partners and the Biosphere Reserve. And before I mentioned the duties of the partners, and now I would like to tell about the activities of the Biosphere Reserve administration for the partners. That consists of organizing the networking within this partner network. We organize meetings and workshops for the partners. Once a year, there is a regional market where the partners can sell their products, for example. We do public relations work for the partners. We have launched a website a couple of years ago. We print leaflets and brochures. We have printed business cards for all of these partners, and some image films as well. And even in Lower Saxony, the state I work for, the DMO of Lower Saxony presents the partners of the Lower Saxonian national landscapes as sustainable companies. Please move to the next slide. Some words about funding. The coordinating personnel is part of the Biosphere Reserve administration staff. So the personnel is funded by the states. It must not be funded, or need not be funded by the partners. The material costs for printing the material, for example, or for organizing the networking events are covered by the Biosphere Reserve administrations for the most part, but the partners have to pay €50 per year as well to take part in this network. In my state of Lower Saxony, there is an additional funding possibility for the partners, which is co-funded by the EU ERDF fund, it must be in English, and by state funds. And the partners, the certificated partners, have the possibility to implement own projects co-funded by the EU funds. For some examples, a partner museum has carried out some educational program with the help of these funds. The environmental educational facilities in the hotel rooms I mentioned before have been funded by this funding directive. And we as administration had profited from this funding as well, because we were able to employ an additional temporary staff for the coordination of our network. And on the last slide, I mentioned some of our challenges. Right now, of course, as all of you probably, we are not quite sure what will be the consequences of Corona pandemic for our partners. We will see that. Hopefully they are going to make it, even in this very difficult business sector of tourism. Of course, networking in a very large region like our Biosphere Reserve is not so easy. We have to work together over a lot of kilometers. And so it's very important to do some events to bring these partners together, not only from the spatial point of view, but also from the more content point of view. We deal with very small partners, from one-man shows more or less to rather large companies with more than 100 employees. So we have to find topics which are of interest for all of these partners. We still have a differing understanding of sustainability. For example, some partners think that all food must be organic if presented to customers. Some think, oh, it's not so important to have organic food. Regional food is sufficient. Some think that nature conservation, species protection is extremely important. Some think that, well, the production of renewable energy is very important too, even if it's not so good for certain animals. And over these hundreds of kilometers, there is a different understanding of regionality, for example. Some people think that if you produce apple juice, for example, it must come from your local apple trees. Others think that it's okay if the apples are grown in Germany to have some regional apple juice, for example. Yeah, and some problem for me, myself and my colleagues in the other states is that we have to find the time to really coordinate and care for the network, because all of us have other topics as well in our administration. And so it's still quite a challenge to bring together all of these tasks. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I will be available for all questions.
Thank you, Tobias. Now we would like to launch another set of questions. So Misha, please. The pool.
Here I am.
Yes.
In a second. Okay, we would just like to briefly get your feedback. One of the good practices you listened to that most inspired you through offering an efficient, concrete platform to accelerate sustainability. We know they're not directly comparable, but definitely indicative, and just to get some feedback. Okay, I'm kind of stopped, so I will just share the results. The Green Scheme of Slovenian Tourism is won with a third of votes, and then followed by Ljubljana, and then Hamburg, and then UNESCO. That was just to get a brief feedback to get to the questions and answers session, Natasha. So,
yes, thank you. We got several questions for all speakers, and I don't know, we could start with perhaps to have a general question to all the speakers. And so can you say something about the resonance from visitors to the sustainability strategy or to the label or scheme? Does the certification manage to attract more visitors or different target groups? So all speakers are invited to answer. Teja, Tobias, Simona instead of Natasha for the green scheme, sorry, for the European Green Capital. And Cynthia, I'm not sure if she's still here because she wrote meanwhile that she won't be able to answer.
I can start if you want. Definitely the green scheme is becoming more and more known among visitors as well, even though it's easier to communicate it B2B than B2C, because as I said, you know, all these terms and complexity, it's sometimes difficult to present in a simple way for somebody who's just going on vacations. But yeah, it's especially with media, because the whole project was reported on by some international media, very popular ones. So I think the awareness is growing, but I don't think that we're there yet that visitors would come to Slovenia just because of the scheme. They do like the project. When they hear about it, they say, "Oh, how nice! We really like that. We are so happy that we will not negatively impact the destinations we visit because they are doing things in a right way." But I don't think this is the main reason for them to come here yet. Or maybe just a small niche group of people that really search for such places. But I think the big majority come because they heard good things about some destinations, not exactly about their sustainability approach, but about attractions and nature and so on.
Thank you, Teja. So maybe Tobias,
Yeah.
what do you think?
No, I would say that for the Elbe River, it's more or less the same. People usually don't come because of the partner companies in our region, but because of the landscape. But we still haven't done an evaluation yet, but we got some money this year to do an evaluation of the whole network at the end of this year. And so I hope that some of these questions can be answered for our network then.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Simona, would you like to say something, please?
Yes, hello, also from my side. I could say that European Green Capital was actually an award that gave us more international recognition. In this sense, I believe also that visitors or tourists alike heard about it, and I think it did make an impact. Just so that they see environment is really getting a really strong effect, not just to citizens but visitors alike. So I believe that this was something that put us on the map.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Maybe we should move to next question that I think it's actual to all of you, also to all the three speakers, because Cynthia is obviously not here anymore. So what do you think motivates local stakeholders or businesses, let's say, to get a certification? Or
if I may,
yeah, please go ahead.
If I may answer, in our case, it's different. Some of the partners really want to help the Biosphere Reserve. They don't want something for themselves, but they want to help the Biosphere Reserves. Of course, there are other partners who want to have more customers by the certification. And we see with these partners, if they don't get these more customers, then they quit rather quickly after certification 2 or 3 years later.
Okay, thank you.
From our experience, when it comes to businesses, it's their main, well, often their main reason is also to lower the costs. So when it comes to energy and water and waste, so this is one of the arguments that help a lot when you talk to them. So you can lower the costs, and at the same time, you can tell this amazing story to your guests, and the guests will come back, or they will tell their friends, and you can market yourself as green, and now you have the certificate to prove it, so the visitors will trust you more. Yeah, this is with businesses, but of course for destinations it's different, because we work a lot with destinations. Destinations are a public sector, so they have different reasons to join the scheme. It's not just monetary, but just to protect their host communities, to protect their nature, just to make the best out of visitors, but don't get the negative effects.
Okay, thank you. Maybe a question for Simona. Vilte was asking actually, what are the main challenges trying to protect such a large area in Ljubljana, and also how local community or businesses contribute to it?
Yes, well, they are, as Natasha has already shown you, the 4 landscape parks. They are protected areas already from, some of them already from 70s or 80s, 80 years ago. This is the first thing. The second thing is that in 2018, we have also established the service that is actually also the service of the landscape park of Tivoli, Rožnik and Šišenski Hill, which is their job is also to supervise and therefore being responsible to keep natural park as pristine as possible. For instance, also there is we have also a pilot project called URB for Den, which actually deals with urban forests, raising awareness, teaching people what are actually how to behave in a forest or urban forests. Also to build urban equipment in forests. Therefore, we are doing a lot also with our citizens in order to raise awareness, to teach them, and to work together in different actions. For instance, we also have association of green supervisors, which everybody can get. Therefore, all citizens can join or take part in different activities. Like for instance, for More Beautiful Ljubljana, this is one of the campaigns which is quite popular in April every year, where we also inform citizens on importance of remaining the city clean and also green. And thus also having a little bit of, let's say, a little bit of entertainment, not just the serious topics. In this way, I think it's quite a good example to work together with our citizens and also district authorities.
Okay, thank you, Simona. Now another question for Thea. How many people work on the green scheme at the national level? Camille would like to know, do you have any idea of the cost in terms of human resources, audit, investment for destinations and businesses that apply?
Well, for businesses, it's different because they get the certificate on the basis of their primary label. So the costs of the primary labels are not the same. So they differ. They go all like from 500 per year to more than to a couple of thousand per year. So depending which they choose, some of them are more recognized in some markets, some in others. Some are more recommended for one type of accommodation, some for others, some for tour operators that can't really have so many different ones because there are not many for tour operators, for example. So these are for businesses. There's no one price because it depends on the primary label they choose. They, however, to get the secondary label, which is the Slovenia Green certificate, they just pay 200 additional euros. So we don't charge them much more. And then for destinations, it also depends whether it's the large destination, that means more than one municipality, or if it's one municipality, but the price is, for example, between 1,000 and 2,000 euros. And when it comes to our work, we are 3 people on Goodplace that are actively involved. We are also auditors and we help to develop the scheme. We organize workshops and so on. And then on the Slovenian Tourist Board, there's one person in charge for communication that is up to them, and some marketing activities. Of course, the departments are connected, so other people are getting involved when needed. Also, we 3 at Goodplace, we are not only in charge of the activities on the green scheme, we also have many other projects. So it's hard to evaluate the costs of human resources because it's very mixed. Anything else in this question that I haven't addressed?
No, I think so. You answered all. Then a question to Tobias. Do you have any monitoring system for certification criteria?
Yeah, well, our partner network is now about 10 years old, and 2 years ago we evaluated the criteria and in some parts used other questions or other criteria. So we had monitoring 2 years ago, and re-evaluated the criteria.
So you don't have it on a regular basis, or every 2 years, or every every 5 years? I don't know. Just
the partners are being re-evaluated every second year.
Okay.
The partners. The criteria depends. These are not regularly re-evaluated, but the partners, of course, have to certificate it every second year.
Okay, thank you. Now we have another question for you, Tobias, regarding the UNESCO Biosphere project. You mentioned ERDF funds, and Thomas would like to know which programs were you talking about this ERDF funds?
Yeah, I'm not so sure actually. I don't know. I would have to look for that and may contact Thomas separately. But it's part of the ERDF fund in an operational program which was used here in Lower Saxony, but I'm not quite sure which part of the ERDF fund is this program about.
Okay, thank you. Now I just got the note that Tanya from Hamburg Tourism could also answer the questions dedicated to or rise to Cynthia. So Tanya, can you please briefly sum up the sustainable strategy change, what the sustainable strategy changed for Hamburg tourism and stakeholders? And the next one, does the strategy address river tourism in particular, and how?
First of all, I have to say I'm not from Hamburg tourism itself, so I can't really, I can try. Cynthia also tried to answer some questions in the chat. So for example, the question about river tourism, and she said that river tourism is not a part of the strategy. It is of course part of Hamburg tourism's overall tourism marketing, but it's not addressed particularly by this sustainability strategy. And as to the effects, of course, it's the same as in Slovenia. I think Teja said that people don't come to Hamburg because of sustainability. they come to Hamburg, or used to come to Hamburg before COVID, because they wanted to do a big city trip, you know, with culture and whatever, and not for sustainability. So this is like an add-on to Hamburg's offer, I think. And of course, it's also marketing, offers different possibilities for marketing for different target groups, but it's not really changing that much. And as to the sustainability part, the new card that Cynthia was talking about, that was introduced only last year, and then COVID came. So we don't really have any statistical numbers that could, you know, that we could use to say anything about its success or not, because of course it wasn't successful, but nothing really was in the last year. So to sum up, we can't, so this has not really changed numbers, tourism numbers in Hamburg, of course, but it's of course a tool to transform maybe some of Hamburg's tourism industry into a more sustainability into a more sustainable way, or to create some more sustainable offers. And for the companies, I think this was also a question. I think many companies, some companies are of course taking part of it in it because they believe in it. I think because they are sustainable companies by, you know, because they want to. And I think other companies will certainly use it as a marketing tool, you know, an additional marketing tool to be part of this Hamburg tourism sustainability card, for example.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
I hope I have answered most questions.
Yeah, there are some questions more, but we are just on time. If we finish now for a coffee break, and then maybe later after the next round, we could answer still some questions, or I would kindly ask speakers to have a look in the chat and perhaps to answer directly in the chat, so that we are.
Sorry, can I just say something quickly?
Yes.
For the coffee break. That was one question, just asking if we've made any study that show that is there any increase in visitors because of the green scheme. I just wanted to point out that the increased visitation is not the goal of the scheme. We don't do it to get more and more visitors. We are looking at different indicators. So whether our people here living here are happy, whether the nature is protected, and if, yeah, that are the main things. Also, if we get more visitors, maybe some points can't handle them. So what we prefer is just to, you know, spread them out more geographically and also throughout the whole season. So we don't really measure the number of visitors.